Hello guys and welcome back to Coniferia. As you can see, we are located in the heart of downtown Port Douglas and the city is absolutely buzzing and brimming with activity. We are overseeing the demolition of this historic building housing the Port Douglas Community Outreach Center. This building is of course being demolished to make way for a shiny new office tower hosting a branch of a major banking firm. And this was decided by you guys through a vote here on the channel some weeks ago. Now, the demolition process of such a building has to be carefully planned and carried out with the utmost respect to its environment. It's gone. And it's gone. It's just gone. Okay? Anyways, the biggest regional newspaper, the Coniferia Daily, reached out to Mr. Danton Deceitwell, CEO of this banking firm and the main negotiator on behalf of the bank, for a comment on when the Port Douglas Community Outreach Center can expect the bank to provide the agreed on funds for a relocation of their offices to somewhere else in downtown. Unfortunately, Mr. Danton Deceitwell was unreachable. A rumor has it that he's taking a nice long vacation from work in his newly bought $50 million mansion on Chestnut Hill in Pine Harbor. Oh well. In the meantime, construction crews are moving into the site to prepare for digging out a few basement levels with parking and continue with the building afterwards. Alright, so to get on with this episode, we're gonna be building a viewer suggestion, basically. So on my most recent community posts, I asked for some suggestions and input to what you think that our Coniferia region is sorely missing by now. We've grown to surpass 30,000 residents with the realistic population mod, and as we zoom out, things are starting to look just a little reminiscent of some Google Maps pictures, which I think is really nice. So what are we sorely missing at this point? And I want to thank you all for the nice suggestions and let you know that I've read them all. And I'm going to continue taking inspiration from that thread. So if you sit there and you've got something that you really think we need to start building or implementing, then just head over to the community page here on my YouTube channel and throw me a suggestion. So for this particular episode, something that was suggested several times actually, sometimes in conjunction with other suggestions, sometimes standalone, is to establish some professional sports teams here in Coniferia, basically building a stadium complex. So that's what we'll be doing, and I've pondered a bit about the location of this stadium. Initially, I considered using some of this freely available flat land in the northwestern area of the city of Pine Harbor. We've got this big agricultural area as well, which would make it rather easy to just build a big slab of a stadium and provide adequate parking. But maybe that's a bit of an easy way out. So instead, I'm thinking that the dockyards here in Port Douglas would actually be a pretty nice area. You often see this in real life as well, that as heavy manufacturing industry has declined in high income economies, as the service sector has grown at the expense of the industrial sector, you will often see these big dockyards being redeveloped into, housing, fancy hipster apartments, or, gastropubs and blah, blah, blah. But often also big, sports venues or concert halls or, congress centers and stuff like that. So I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use some of the big slabs of land that we have here. And then I guess the next issue for me was that I didn't really have a lot of stadiums downloaded from the workshop, so I went ahead and bought this sports venues content creator pack, and I'm very positively surprised by the assets here. They seem to have a pretty realistic scale. Initially, I was actually thinking of going with one of the smaller stadiums because that's just gonna be a little easier to work with, and it's gonna be easier to confine it within the available space we have here at the harbor. But once again, I think that might just be a little too easy. So I've cheated a bit and had a look at these stadiums, and they're really cool. And I'm really liking this Arrow Park, this massive baseball stadium here. And I think, you know, for such a nice location here, and for what is at least striving to be a world-class city here in Port Douglas, I mean, you guys just enabled the complete demolishment of a historical building to get a banking skyscraper going. Then I guess, you know, a big stadium is probably befitting for such a city. So this Arrow Park, we're gonna have to try and squeeze in here. And obviously it's too big for this area currently. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna place it, and then I'm going to adjust the docks here accordingly. Because I think a placement as this one will just, I mean, I can just see if I can give you guys an idea of what I'm thinking. Just ignore the, you know, part of outer brick wall that is suddenly placed within a baseball stadium. But look at these views, right? You can sit here, enjoy your Sunday game, and you can have this, you know, spectacular build-up environment in the background and the awesome skyline of Port Douglas. So yeah, this is definitely the direction we're going. But obviously this isn't exactly the placement we'd want. I would like to incorporate some surface parking lots as well, and probably lots of them. So what we'll likely do instead is to move it out here, something like this maybe. Still gonna provide some fantastic views, especially if we just reduce the field of view a bit with this mod. Then the city in the background is all that much more imposing. So for now, I've just deleted the stadium to give us a bit more room to work. And since I want it placed in this vicinity, I'm gonna have to do some modifications to the dockyards of Port Douglas. First up, we're gonna have to, of course, remove this entire body of water here, this inlet basically. And then we'll see if it's necessary with some expansions to the docks afterwards to maintain the same size. It might not be, as this area was really big to start off with, and it's not necessarily going to be the only port of Port Douglas. There's still so much more room for development here. But first I'm going to just clean this up and make it fit for a new stadium. so now we've got the placement of the stadium in place. We've done a bit of expansion to the dockyards to better accommodate for the stadium. And the next steps here are gonna be pretty critical. So I'm gonna just delete these networks for now, because now we have to consider the sort of infrastructure we're gonna put in place to support the stadium. Because obviously a structure like this is gonna see a lot of traffic in a very short time span. You know, thousands and thousands of people are gonna congregate here, you know, in like a 2 or 3 hour time span during match day, and then they're gonna need to leave. And given the size of the stadium and the placement in Port Douglas, we can assume at least that this team is probably one of the biggest brands in the region of Coniferia. So it's not just a stadium where we will have visitors from Port Douglas. We're also gonna have lots of out-of-towners, you know, from the surrounding areas, from Pine Harbor, which is also a big city in and of itself. So we're gonna need to create ample parking because while Coniferia, as you know, is a fictional series that's not based on one particular theme or country, then it is a pretty heavily car-dependent area. So we're gonna need ample parking, and we're also gonna need to beef up public transportation. Because currently you've got pretty decent public transportation to reach Port Douglas from the remaining areas in Coniferia. You can grab the train. We see one here departing. But when you reach the train station, your only option currently is to hop on a tram. And my trams are completely jammed up for some reason, so I'm just gonna clear that up. Not sure what that's about. Anyways, there's a pretty nice tram network in Port Douglas, and it ends here, which is in... This is like an end station, and it is in the vicinity of the stadium. But I think ideally we'd actually want dedicated tram stations to not just support the stadium, but also provide easier access with public transportation to all the industry out here. We've got the dockyards here, and we've got there's 1,000 jobs out here actually, with about how much? 735 of those jobs are occupied as of now. But this is a major, job center in the region, so it would make sense for more tram activity here. So I'll have to plan out the tram network, and I'll have to plan out the parking. And I think I'm gonna place down the tram network first. I'm gonna make that, gonna give that precedence. And I'd like to actually maybe build a loop going around the stadium. I think that could be a fun choice. Alternatively, I don't build a loop, but I create an end station out here somewhere to support this area. And then we have a dedicated station here right by the stadium, which is likely to see lots of usage. So I think I've decided on creating a loop for 2 reasons. One is that I think it would be pretty cool if we have several tram stops around the stadium. It's a very, very big stadium, and there are multiple entrances. So, when you grab tickets to the stadium, then based on wherever you're seated, so for instance, if you're gonna sit here and eat hot dogs all day, then you'd probably enter here, and it'd be a different entrance if you're seated up here. And it would be really cool to have several tram stops surrounding the station, at least one down here and one over here perhaps, and then kind of join up here and go into the city. And then we can always continue the tram network expansion. It's one of the most fun networks to work with, but also one of the most tricky ones, since I only use custom networks for my trams. But I think we'll start that. So I'm just gonna pause the game because I am bound to mess something up now, and we'll have to do away with our gorgeous end tram station here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this type of road that we've got here. So we've got this tram and bike road that cuts all the way through the Brickville neighborhood. We've got inner Brickville and we've got outer Brickville, and then it kind of stops here. But I'm gonna continue this type of road, and then we're gonna make it the loop around. So if we continue it to here, then I think we are about ready to create this loop. Or maybe we'll even make it just a bit shorter. So I'm just gonna add an additional node here. I'm gonna grab this road and I'm gonna upgrade this segment, and then I'm gonna go and grab my custom tram networks. So these are made by Clues on the workshop. Sorry if I don't pronounce that right, but they are awesome. And I'm gonna go and grab a single type that I like. Just gonna extend out here just to get a look of this. So this one has like a concrete flooring. This one is with grass, and I think that's probably most befitting. So let's just go ahead and we'll just create this initial departure here. Then I'll try to, you know, have a bike lane over here as well, of course. So we're gonna grab this segment and we're going to just go around the stadium. So first I'm just gonna create some of these straight segments, because I know I want them to kind of flank the stadium at like an even angle. So this is all right, I think. Let's just check. Needs a bit of adjustment here. There you go. Gonna grab this again and move it over here. Then I think I'm gonna make the connection here, because it's gonna need a bit of configuration to look all right. Something like this. I just need to check the height. So the height is okay for these buildings, and then we're gonna see a bit of a decline here, because it is rather steep. So if I can just make this curve a little better, like so, then we should be able to quite easily connect up the network now. Of course I say that and then everything's suddenly a struggle. And I guess preferably I'd like more of a curvature here. So I'm just gonna drag this segment up a bit. And actually, I think if I grab a segment here, should be able to align it properly. Oh, these ones aren't connected. Whoops. Just put on some snapping. There you go. And then I'll grab this segment. Just to place it over here. I'm gonna align the height to the stadium. Then we should be able to get a decent looking curve here. That is good enough. Cool, let's inspect just for a second. Wait, we just need to make the slopes here a little more passable. And to this one as well. So we've got a nice loop now going around the stadium, and I'm gonna grab all these nodes and I'm just gonna align the height. The stadium. It's gonna make working with these tram roads a little easier. There you go. And I think that looks pretty cool, and it's very obvious that, you know, you've got a pretty good public transportation option for accessing the stadium. No excuse for bringing your car, unless you're not covered by the tram and train network, of course. And before I place some stations, I'm just gonna make a little change because our bike road out here is ending a little abruptly and this road is a little wide. So I'm gonna switch over to this type of road instead. And then we can make some stations. So we've got this red line here, which has a stop here and a stop here. And I think that's fine because this stop is serving inner Brickville, and then we got a stop here serving outer Brickville. We could move it here instead. That's actually probably a little more befitting. So we'll change that to here, and then we'll remove this stop. And then we can create stops near these main entrances. So we've got one here, obviously. And I'm creating a stop here. We've got one over here as well. See, so let's create a stop. These are some huge ass nodes or segments rather, but we'll create a stop here on the corner. That looks pretty sweet. And then I'd like to create a stop here as well. Then we've got all major entrances to the complex covered, and we've got 3 stops in total surrounding it. Which may be a little excessive for a tram network. So what I might do is continue the tram network this way here. So for now, I'm just gonna revert this road here like so. But I guess one thing that also motivated the Port Douglas City Council to prioritize a tram road out here is that when you build a stadium on, you know, redeveloped area, a former industrial site like this, oftentimes you'll, you know, also have additional space that you can put for sale to developers, and you'll see more housing. So we might implement some of that as well. But for now, yeah, I mean, the main reason for this loop is that it looks cool. And what I'm doing now is I'm just grabbing this custom station that I've built. And I'll need to grab this segment as well, because we've got the pathway here to the station. And I'll paste that in here. There you go. And I don't really know where my props went. So I'm gonna grab the station again. I'm gonna try and copy paste it here into place. Something like this, and then we'll adjust the height. Oh, we'll need to adjust it ever so slightly as well. There you go. Seems like the right height. We'll just remove these trees. And cool, we've got a good looking stop now here as well. And let's just take a little tour with this tram just to ensure that it's got a smooth passage all the way through. We'll just speed it up a bit. Seems like the curves are pretty smooth. This stop is, yeah, it's okay. Can't be much tighter than this. And I guess this is pretty bad. So 5 people actually got on the tram here, but now it's completely bugged. Not sure what that's about, so I'm just gonna do some more testing. So not only have I now fixed the tram network after bit of a struggle. We've also got a match day Coniferia versus San Rico. I hoped I could rename the team, but maybe I just can't. Anyways, the game is on, which looks pretty cool. We've got the players on the field, and look at these views. This is exactly what I was going for. Ah, that is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I mean, could you guys just imagine us being at this game? If you're not slightly interested in baseball, we'd just be staring at the architecture and the city in the background, maybe drawing like a sketch or something. But this is a very, very cool look, and yeah, really impressed with these stadiums in general. Look at the amount of activity here. It's just completely buzzing. Everyone's wearing their red team kits as well. So the brand is making lots of money. Not bad, not bad. Anyways, where were we? Oh yeah, of course. We need to build ample parking as well. And yeah, I don't have much planned. I think, you know, this big part here is of course obviously gonna be a good spot. And I'll see if I actually fill out this entire area. I might just take up half of it and then think of redeveloping this part here into like modern condos or something like that, because it could also be pretty cool to have like a secondary skyline of beautiful skyscrapers right here next to the stadium. And then you have, you know, the depth of also having the downtown core back here. And yeah, we've also got a bit of a skyline up here as well. So yeah, I think it would be really awesome if we develop this into like a modern luxury apartment area, and we could, you know, come up with some BS name for it. So, you know, the condos by the shore, or whatever developers use as lingo these days. But that's probably for another episode. For now, I think I'm gonna try and start to plan out some of the parking here. And I'm just gonna use the parking lot roads, the big parking lot roads, to kind of try and draw out some of the main roads, because I think it's gonna help a bit with giving like a rough idea of how the parking is gonna look. So I'll jump right into that. right, so we've certainly got quite a bit of parking now. I mean, realistically, judging by the what would be the realistic capacity of a stadium like this, this isn't nearly enough parking. So either I'll do more in future episodes, or maybe I'll try to experiment with creating what looks to be, parking, underground parking, so some parking basements underneath the stadium maybe, because I don't want this whole area to be completely covered with surface parking. And I use the technique I like to use to use these big parking roads, create a more condensed look, and that is to use the intersection marking tool to create lines for where the cars will actually be driving back and forth. And doing that, I can sort of adjust the functional parking lots closer to each other, so that I get a lot more parking coverage within the same area, as opposed to if I just adhere to the more classic way of using these roads, where you have about one zoning tile in between each of the filler pieces. That creates a more spread out look, and I guess some like the look of that, but I guess in this case I just wanted to maximize the amount of cars we could have here. So 3 parking lots in total, this big one, a smaller one here, and I'll fill this up with some industry. I think I'd like for these train tracks to still be in use actually. And then I just created a smaller parking lot over here as well in this small awkward space. What I'm just gonna go ahead and do now before we wrap the episode up is I'm gonna change some of these nodes to be crossings, so that we allow for some easier pedestrian access to the stadium. We've got some obvious nodes here that are perfect for crossings, because they are right next to the pathways leading to the stadium. Let's see, we'll create one here as well so that you can... Oh, that actually didn't create a marker. That's sort of annoying. Never mind. So we'll go over here. I don't think it's actually needed on this side though, because you wouldn't really cross here. What am I doing? I'm clicking the road. Jesus. Sorry. There you go. We've got one here as well. Create a crossing. We've got one here as well. Yeah, and I've already created one here. This wraps up this episode. It took quite a bit of time to get this placed, but with this in place, it's really quite straightforward for us to start expanding the surrounding areas and really fill in this area a lot. So as I said, I was thinking of some really modern residential towers here with the BS names to attract the wealthy people. And here we're gonna have even more industry, and I haven't decided what to do with this area here. But if you got any ideas for what this area really needs, then let me know in the comments, and I'll make sure to try and implement some of that stuff if I agree with it. Yeah. Now, as always, if you enjoy my content and haven't yet subscribed and enabled notifications, then of course feel very free to do so. That way you won't miss whenever I upload new episodes. And if you want even more content from Coniferia, I've got a Patreon going where $1 a month will get you all the perks over there. So take a look if you're interested. Yeah, with that said, thank you guys once again for all the suggestions. Really nice to get some inspiration from all the ideas you guys have, and I completely agree that a stadium was really due here in the city. And before we wrap up, let's just get one more of these views from in here. I think that is really cool. Really makes me appreciate the changes we've made to the skyline of Port Douglas as well. I think this looks absolutely fantastic. Anyways, enough patting myself on the back here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.